March 1965. A KGB operative sits across from a suspected CIA informant in a Moscow cafe, holding what appears to be a standard cosmetic lipstick tube. The object measures 100 millimeters in length and 12 millimeters in diameter. It weighs approximately 40 grams. The operative twists the base mechanism as if preparing to apply cosmetic, but this is not cosmetic. Concealed within the gold-plated brass casing is a single-shot 4.5mm pistol with a spring-loaded firing mechanism. The operative aims the lipstick at the informant's face at a distance of approximately 1 meter. A twist of the base compresses the firing spring. A second motion releases it. A hardened steel projectile exits the lipstick's tip at roughly 180 meters per second, sufficient velocity to penetrate skin and bone at close range. The informant collapses. The operative calmly replaces the lipstick in a handbag and exits. The weapon leaves virtually no gunpowder residue, produces minimal sound, and resembles a cosmetic item so completely that witnesses report seeing nothing more threatening than a woman applying lipstick. This was not an isolated incident. This was a weapons system designated the lipstick pistol, developed by Soviet intelligence services during the Cold War and used in multiple confirmed assassination operations before its existence was publicly acknowledged through defector testimony and museum displays decades later. Soviet intelligence agencies in the 1950s and 1960s faced an assassination problem that was operational and technical. Eliminating targets in public or semi-public spaces required weapons that could be carried without detection, deployed without alerting witnesses, and discarded or concealed immediately after use. Standard suppressed pistols like the PSS were effective but recognizable as firearms. Poison delivery systems were unreliable and slow-acting. What Soviet wet-work operations required were weapons disguised so thoroughly as everyday objects that their true nature would not be apparent even to trained security personnel during casual searches. The weapon needed to deliver lethal force at conversational distance, produce minimal signature, and be simple enough to operate under extreme stress. The lipstick pistol represented one solution to this requirement, though its development history remains partially classified. The weapon's design was deceptively simple. The outer casing was a standard lipstick tube, gold-plated brass or steel, identical in appearance to commercial cosmetics. The interior mechanism consisted of a spring-loaded firing pin, a single 4.5mm chamber, and a barrel approximately 60 millimeters long. The projectile was a solid steel or hardened lead dart, not a conventional bullet, eliminating the need for rifling and reducing mechanical complexity. The firing mechanism used a two-stage trigger integrated into the base rotation mechanism. Rotating the base one direction compressed a powerful spring. Rotating it in the opposite direction released the spring, driving the firing pin forward to strike the projectile's primer, or in some variants, to directly impact the projectile base and drive it down the barrel through spring force alone. This eliminated the need for gunpowder in some models, though others used minimal primer charges to boost muzzle velocity. The projectile's design was critical to lethality, given the weapon's size constraints. A 4.5mm steel dart weighed approximately 1 gram. Propelled at 180 meters per second, it delivered roughly 16 joules of kinetic energy, comparable to a low-powered air rifle. This was marginal for reliable lethality unless the projectile struck vital areas. Soviet training for lipstick pistol use emphasized targeting the face, specifically the eyes or nasal cavity, where the projectile could penetrate the brain. Shots to the torso were considered unreliable due to the dart's limited penetration through clothing and muscle tissue. The weapon was designed for contact-distance assassination, where precise targeting was possible and where the victim's proximity prevented escape if the first shot failed to incapacitate immediately. Testing of the lipstick pistol occurred at specialized facilities operated by the KGB's Technical Operations Directorate, locations that remain unconfirmed but likely included proving grounds near Moscow. Live fire testing used cadavers and ballistic gelatin to determine penetration characteristics and optimal shot placement. The weapon's lethality was validated through these tests, though specific data remains classified. What is known from defector accounts is that the weapon entered operational service in the early 1960s and was issued to operatives conducting wet work in both domestic and foreign operations. The weapon's small size and convincing disguise made it ideal for targeting individuals in locations where larger weapons could not be carried without detection. Operational use was confirmed through multiple channels. KGB defector testimony in the 1970s and 1980s described lipstick pistols as standard equipment for certain assassination missions. One defector, whose identity remains protected, described training in the weapon's use and mentioned it being employed in at least 3 operations he had direct knowledge of, though specific targets and dates were not disclosed publicly. Museum displays in Russia after the Cold War included examples of lipstick pistols among other KGB assassination tools, confirming the weapon's existence and general specifications. Western intelligence agencies acquired examples through defection and espionage, analyzing them to understand Soviet capabilities and develop countermeasures. Comparison with Western intelligence weapons reveals different design philosophies. The CIA developed various disguised weapons, including pen guns and cigarette lighter pistols, but these generally used conventional cartridges in miniaturized mechanisms. The British SOE had produced similar devices during World War II, including walking stick guns and pipe pistols. The Soviet lipstick pistol was distinctive in its complete integration of disguise and function, where the cosmetic appearance was maintained even during the firing sequence. Western equivalents typically required the operative to extract the weapon from its disguise or obviously manipulate it in ways that revealed its true nature. The lipstick pistol could be aimed and fired while appearing to simply handle a cosmetic item, a subtle but operationally significant advantage. The limitations were substantial and well understood by Soviet planners. The single-shot capacity meant that missing or wounding the target left the operative defenseless and the operation compromised. Reloading was possible but required disassembling the device and was impractical during operational use. The weapon's effectiveness was highly dependent on shot placement, requiring operatives to be within arm's reach and to target specific facial features for reliable lethality. The psychological difficulty of close-range killing was acknowledged in training, which emphasized clinical detachment and rehearsed movements to prevent hesitation. The weapon's small size also meant limited structural strength. The firing mechanism could be damaged by drops or rough handling, and quality control was apparently inconsistent based on variation in surviving examples. Security awareness of disguised weapons eventually reduced the lipstick pistol's operational utility. By the 1970s, Western counterintelligence agencies had briefed security personnel on various Soviet assassination tools, including lipstick pistols. Suspicious behavior involving cosmetic items in sensitive locations drew increased scrutiny. The weapon's value diminished as its existence became known, though the extent of its actual use versus its psychological impact as a symbol of Soviet assassination capability remains debated. Some analysts suggest the weapon was more valuable as a tool for intimidation through revelation of its existence than through actual operational employment. Post-Cold War disclosure of the lipstick pistol occurred gradually. Russian intelligence museums displayed examples beginning in the 1990s as part of broader efforts to document Cold War espionage history. These displays confirmed specifications but provided minimal information about operational use or effectiveness. Western museums and intelligence agencies subsequently displayed their own acquired examples. Technical analysis by ballistics experts confirmed the weapon's lethality at close range while noting its severe limitations. The consensus among weapons historians is that the lipstick pistol represented an extreme specialization, useful only in very specific scenarios where the operative could approach within touching distance and where the cosmetic disguise would not arouse suspicion. The informant in the Moscow cafe in March 1965 may or may not have died from the lipstick pistol. This specific incident is constructed from documented capabilities and operational patterns rather than a verified historical record, as Soviet assassination operations remain largely classified. What is documented is that the lipstick pistol existed, that it was issued to KGB operatives, and that it was capable of killing at close range when used correctly. The weapon's nickname, Kiss of Death, was not a Soviet designation, but a Western intelligence community label that captured both the weapon's intimate range and its disguise as a feminine cosmetic item. Whether this nickname was darkly poetic or merely descriptive, it reflected the disturbing reality that a device designed for beauty enhancement had been transformed into an instrument for silent killing, carried in handbags across Cold War Europe, and used in operations that will likely remain classified for decades to come.